process of increasing in size. A feature that is both individual, intrinsic, and throughout nature.
This is going to be so interesting, you know.
This is the moment we have been waiting for.
I'm feeling it now.
What has come before is now consigned to the history books. This new decade brings new challenges, new rivals, falling giants, and new beginnings.
Bang, bang, bang! 3 shots to the heart!
Oh, in the back end! Oh, no!
Those who are climbing will meet. Who will fall by the wayside, and who will embody growth.
There's still wheel to wheel!
That is unbelievable!
League of Europe, grow or fade.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the League of Europe. We are here, of course, for round number 8 around the Red Bull Ring at Austria. My name is Jacob, of course, taking you guys through this as always. And finally, he has returned. Daka is back with myself. How are you doing, my friend?
Thank you very much, Jack. Yep, very much excited to get this underway. Yet again, round 8 of the championship. We're storming through it, nearly halfway now. And of course, we've missed, I imagine, 2 very good races, but I'm very much excited to get back at Austria, which is, I don't know about you, but one of my personal favourites on the calendar. Always great for racing. I can't wait to see these guys hammer it around there tonight.
I would have said it's one of my personal favourites until the Division 3 race that just happened. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, we'll keep it at that. But yeah, anyway, running through the standings for yourself very, very quickly, just because there were some very interesting things that happened from last week. So Knuth is still in the lead of the championship, but only by 1 point. Packer has been on absolute form as of late. He's in the last 4 rounds, the lowest he's finished was 4th, but he got that with the fastest lap. So he is only 1 point behind Knuth for this championship lead on 84 points and picking up 2 race wins in a row from France and Russia. In third is XL Zarma with 62 points, and only 2 points behind him is his fellow XL driver of Killer Blue, who picked up another podium last week as well, his second podium of the season, his first of course being his maiden win at Bahrain. In 5th is QVR Kuhn, again not particularly having a very good last 2 results. He's usually up there with Packer, but those last 2 races I don't know what has happened to him, so hopefully the Dutchman's going to look to try and get back on form. And another QVR driver just behind him on 50 points in 6th is Maledictus, the Portuguese man. Still one of the only drivers, I think he is the only driver to still finish in the points at every single race. Gary is in 7th with 46 points, and he is not actually here tonight because he is celebrating his birthday, so happy birthday to Mr. Irishman himself. In 8th is another Irishman actually of Old School 3000, picking up another set of points for himself last week as well. I think it's his 3rd points finish out of the 7 races that we've done so far. Carmentalist in 9th with 35 points to his name, tied with TDB, who managed to get himself a podium 2 weeks ago and then ended up finishing in the wall at Russia, so is in 10th with 35 points as well. Rudy in 11th with 30 points. In 12th is Matt Tibos with 29 points, just 1 point behind Rudy as well. And 13th is Ariel Assassin. Cortez in 14th with Nico 15th. Hardy in 16th. Ivan Bakker in 17th. TTG Slash in 18th. Peter in 19th. Ariel Nolan in 20th. And then we got Ashida and That Scream, who are yet to pick themselves up any sort of points throughout this season, and Ariel Mark as well, who I believe is actually racing for the first time for tonight.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out and see how he's able to get on. But looking now towards the on-track catch, got Peter first up there, showing a lot of good quality pace so far this season, heading round the lap into turn 1, going over that curb on the inside. Very, very risky. The car can definitely be spat out, but Peter, nice and clean over that curve, and now heading up the hill towards through the kink of 2 and now towards turn 3. 16.0, so the first sector is not bad at all for a banker. They won't be the fastest times that we see in this session, but these guys just trying to get a feel for the track. You can see them fighting for traction allow it out of turn 3, downhill braking zone here, and a turn 4, easy to run it in deep. Peter very nicely tucked in to the apex and accelerating through nicely, now getting it over to the right hand side for the kink of 5, and then swinging it left into turn 6, a little bit wide to the mark. Then can be a lot of understeer through this high speed section of track. Now the turn 7 and 8 into the last sector, barely able to keep it within the track limits. Very easy to run wide there, and not least into these last 2 corners. Turn 9 is all about commitment. Fearlessly fly it through here. Up to the line now. Peter going to open up the laps. Expect drivers to maybe do 2 runs, we'll see, but 3:09 is the opening time. Pretty quick as a banker, but we might see some quicker times later on. Let's see. Peter sets the mark at a 1:03.9. Let's see how the rest of them stack up in these opening runs here in qualifying.
Well, I've actually just found something out very, very interesting. There's actually going to be not just rain in the race, there's thunderstorms in the race.
Wow.
So, I think this is going to be the second time we're going to see this season, as TDB chucks it on pole with a 3.881. I think this is going to be the second time we're going to see it. So, Division 2, they're going to have quite a lot slower lap times, because I'm assuming a lot of them are going to go for a very wet setup to try and get, well, the best out of the wet conditions, because it's going to be not intermediates, it's going to be full wets, especially if there's some thunderstorms. So I don't know how this is going to play out, you know, Dan, because I think this is now going to sort of flip it on the guys that usually are pretty good in the set of the wets, and it all depends on who's going to go for the set of the, or go for a wet setup or go for a dry setup. At the moment, Cortez just chucks it on pole with a 3.6. It looks like he might be one of the ones on the dry setup.
Well, we know he's got a lot of qualifying pace anyway, usually, Cortez, so we can expect great things from him regardless. We'll see how he gets on. We've got Kublai who's come over the line on second spot. He's fared pretty well in the wet in general this season. Silverstone, of course, right up there throughout the event in that manic race that we had then with the changing conditions. But yeah, Cortez on top by 0.2 of a second. That is a big margin at Austria. You can expect times to be very, very close around here. Maybe though we'll see that a bit more variation. Drivers, depending on the strategy that they want to run, we'll see what they go for in qualifying, as we're seeing some cars coming over the line. Nico goes 5th on a 3.9. Now it was Tranky Ariel Mark. He does a fairly decent time, a 1.4 flat, but it was invalidated. But we'll keep an eye out, see what he could do later on. XL Zenema over the line, not particularly fast. Nolan a good lap, goes 3rd, of course, pole setter in Spain, I believe. So he's got some pace at the moment, but Cortez comfortably at front. But of course, you have to ask that question, is he going for that setup? Is he going fully committed into qualifying and just trying to get a good slot at the front and hope that he can hold on to it?
Yeah, it certainly was, and literally just as I saw those two of Nolan and Zadama coming across the final corner, I saw Maledictus was sort of round, just sort of sitting at the wall. So I think he was up on his time going for that second run, and unfortunately for the Portuguese driver, it's just not worked out in his favour. So 3.921, still pretty good time anyway, and slots him into P5 so far. Let's have a look at what the best time that some people done. So Matt Tibos, interestingly enough, he's done 2 runs on a set of the medium tyres, and he's done a 4.1, 1,000th behind his teammate of Killer Blue on those medium tyres. So Matt Tibos could look to be a pretty good contender for tonight if he's doing that time on a set of the mediums. I know the mediums and softs are usually differences about 5 tenths, I want to say 4 or 5 tenths. So with him putting that, or doing a 4.182 on those mediums, if we're calculating that from the 4 or 5 tenths, he's going to be right where Cortez and Kumbaya are, or going to separate both of those guys. So I don't know, Matt Tibos could be a little bit of a contender for tonight, I must admit, Dan. But a few other guys I think are just coming around to do their lap times as well. I think Old School he's just coming into the pits as well. A few guys are on out laps, about to maybe start a lap or something. I think Peter is going to be the first one to start another lap again. So as I say, that he actually invalidates on the first corner.
It's very easy to do though, because you have to be committed. That's the thing. You have to go all out and just try and maximise it. Of course, these guys, they aren't, doing lap after lap in a race situation. They've only got to set 1, so of course they are going to take a bit more risk, and that is inevitably going to happen. On your point about Matt Tibos, that time easily, I think, puts him on the front row with your conversions, and of course, but we've seen as well times throughout this season where he's had the pace, and for some reason or another, sometimes his fault, sometimes not, it hasn't quite worked out for him. So I'm interested to see how he gets on later on, if he can convert that. But of course, doesn't always carry over. You need to execute the lap. That is very, very important then to be able to get that one done. Interestingly enough, TDB has gone out there actually on a set of the mediums and is actually on a very good lap here. He's only a tenth and a half down on his soft lap. Won't quite go for an improvement necessarily. We'll see how committed he is to the last two corners then, flying it in there. And of course, you've got to try and maximise the width of the track without going over the limits. TDB coming up to the line. I don't think this will improve, but just looking at time. Whoa, he does improve! A 103.7 on mediums. That is a monstrous lap from NSX TDB, stamping his authority on this race. I didn't think that was going. Wow, a 103.7. That is a massive psychological blow to all of his competitors. That is stunning from NSX TDB.
What a lap time that was from him as Cortez goes even faster. A 3.410 for the other Portuguese driver in the other Alpine as well. But yeah, I mean, going back to that lap with TDB, what a lap time that was from the Dutchman. I'm sure he's going to be very happy with that, because a 3.7 on a set of mediums. I mean, again, if we're going with that conversion, that's about a 3.3, 3.2 that he could do on a set of the soft tyres, which is ridiculous. Considering that, I think Division 1 pole, I think you said it to me before the live stream started, was about a 0.3. Granted, they only had the one run, but that means TDB is going to be faster than the rest of those guys if he decides to go on a set of the soft tyres. I think TDB, I thought he was going to try and go for another lap, but in fact I think he might have had a little bit of a spin, so yeah, not going to put in an improved lap time. As Rudy, another Dutchman, up into second place now at 1:03.732, and we're going to start seeing a lot more lap times come up on the board now, Dan, as well. Obviously, Ariel Mark and XL Hardy, the two that haven't yet put on a lap time. They are currently out on a lap as well, but I think Hardy invalidated on his first run and is invalidated on his second run. Ariel Mark is also invalidated on his run, so we're going to see a lot more guys make their way up towards the line very, very soon, and I think it's actually going to start off with the Mercedes driver of Killer Blue.
So Killer Blue, I dare I say it, not the best first run. He has actually invalidated and is kicking again then, going out for another attempt. Nico behind him, just starting off on a flying lap. Now Matt Tibos looks to have made an error as well as invalidated, so you can see these guys as they press the limits, now beginning to, mistakes beginning to creep in. Let's see, the Zounamide Probes goes 9th, 1-4 dead. I think that was Kumblai going second, a good lap from the Williams man. He's always been on the pace throughout this season. 1:03.5 is just a tenth shy of the provisional pole time of Shizu Cortez at the moment. But at the moment, Cortez holding down that leading advantage. Let's see, his teammate Maledictus is also invalidated, but it looks like he's still pushing. He does back off and go for another lap. Of course, this lap is short enough where you can do those back-to-back runs. So we're still looking for more lap times out then. Carmentelis is round turn 10 now, heading up to the line. A McLaren driver, 1-4 flat at the moment, jumps up to P6 for a man that's not renowned for his qualifying pace. That's a good result. McLaren 5 and 6, good going from them so far. As we look now, Ariel Mark, I don't think he's on a representative lap. He doesn't again, so he is struggling to get those lap times valid. I think Killer Blue came over the line, improved to P7, better from Killer Blue, but Cortez still on top, comfortably. Kublai behind him, but I am still so excited to see what TDB can do in these last few runs. But now, as we get further and further into the session, a lot of exciting running to come in. Don't look away, these last 7 minutes are going to be electric.
And here comes the championship leader, Knuth over the line, puts it into P3 at 3.578. Good lap time from the German. Both of the Alfa Romeos on a very good lap. Of course, TDB doing his on a set of the medium tyres, so I'm expecting him to try and maybe push it for that pole position. Of course, Cortez now going out for another set of soft tyres, and this might be his final 2 laps that he's going to be able to put on the board. So we'll keep an eye out on the Portuguese driver, as I think he is literally coming around the 3rd sector now. A few other guys also just coming out and coming across throughout the rest of their doing the rest of their laps. Packer I did see went and improved, but because of everybody else also improving with such small margins, as Ariel Mark puts it into P14, just behind his Aston Martin teammate of QVR Nico. But yeah, I mean, a lot of guys just improving on their time. Packer ended up dropping back down to 11th. Kumblai manages to keep it into 2nd as Cortez. Massive bit of oversteer coming through turn number 1. So I think Cortez, he might have to back out on this lap, or he's going to try and push it and go for one more lap. Just have a look at the end of sector 1. Yeah, he's 4 tenths on, down on his time, so not going to make an improvement on this run. Just keep an eye out on TDB though, because I believe he will be the next one across the line. He's done his lap time at 3.7 on a set of mediums and ended up going purple sector 2, but that extension has just completely ruined that lap time for him. He will still at least be able to get another lap done, so we'll keep an eye out on the Dutchman, because he's going to try and go for, or he's going to go for at least one more lap now on the same set of soft tyres. So here we go. TDB, you did the time on the set of mediums, a 3.760, as in fact he is actually backed off, so he's not going to go for that other lap at all, and I believe might end up going, or might be the next one to go for that next lap.
Yes, certainly. We're going to have to keep an eye out on a lot of times coming in. It's such a short lap. The action is thick and fast here in qualifying. So expect lap times to continue to flood their way in. Cortez still at the front, but still about a third of the session left to go here. So let's see how things are going to unfold inside 5 minutes now. So let's see how this is going to end up. Peter was on a good lap, but hasn't validated in the last sector. Must have been coming out of turn 7. Rudy flying it through turn 9. Let's see what he can do. Of course, had that race when it's Silverstone taken away in the steward's room. Coming up to the line as Rudy, good lap, goes 4th. Just ahead of that Scream, who improved recently. So those guys 4 and 5 at the moment. Good lap from Rudy, right in the mix. Cortez still at the top as it stands right now. So let's see who else is out there. TDB I saw spinning. Has he nicked that front wing? He is going to be fine to get himself back into the pit lane, but that's a setback he didn't really need. Cortez is just a 10th down. He won't improve. Looks like it is a little bit quiet. I think that Rudy's still pushing Matt Tibos and XL Hardy. Matt Tibos on a good lap, then nearly 4 tenths up, heading up towards the line, and so TG Tibos now coming up to the line, opens up that DRS. Currently P16 jumps up to 4th, 103.6, so the lap times are coming down. The track conditions are improving. Cortez at the top, but with less than 4 minutes to go, a lot of pace out there. I think the Alpine man needs to improve that if he wants to hold on to that pole position.
He certainly does, because there's going to be a lot more people that are improving on their times. One person in particular who hasn't put a time on the board yet is XL Hardy, and into the end of Sector 1, a 15.821, and according to the game, that was actually a purple Sector 1. So I'm keeping an eye out on the AlphaTauri driver. Gone purple Sector 2 as well, 44.2, runs very wide though, coming through number 7, turn number 6. I think got a little bit of understeer coming through that corner, so that's going to cost him maybe a couple of attempts out on his time, but he takes that very nicely through turn 8, and now through turn number 9, a final corner up towards the line. Hardy, what time is he going to put on the board? It's only P16, a 3.952. Very interestingly enough, Hardy's going to try and go for another lap, I believe, on this, and this will be his final run. Speaking of final runs, Old School down in 18th at the moment at 104.195, and I know that he can go so much quicker than that. I've seen the time that he can do. Could be up there with the likes of Matt Tibos, with Rudy and Scream as well. So we'll keep on board with the Red Bull drivers. In fact, he's actually slowed down, so he's not going to be putting on a time on the board at the moment. I think he's going to try and recharge some of that battery. He might not have been happy with that first and second sector. Just going to recharge his battery and go that final lap, maybe just try and empty out some of the fuel from that car as well. So Ariel Mark, I believe, is going to be the next one across the line to complete his final lap.
Well, here he goes there, but he's also invalidated at turn 1. You see that again, just unable to quite keep it on within the track limit. So difficult to do so when you're committed. You don't want to be doing that in the race, but even in qualifying, that is going to hurt you. XL Hardy also invalidated. He comes up to the line. He did improve only marginally. Would have put him. Actually, he would have put him as high as 12. It's so close in that lower mid pack. You can see them all on 103.8s and 103.9s. So those little improvements, those minute improvements, can push you very far up the order and set you in very good stead. But who is going to be stepping up to the plate? The Alfa Romeos are over the line, getting laps kicked off then, as they set off on their way. There is a Haas car as well coming over the line. So we'll see now these guys all kicking their laps off. Who is going to be the first to come over the line? I'm not sure who that is. I think Kelly Blue was up in that middle sector, but he's also invalidated. The Aston Martins are out there. Mark, he's kicking on for another flying lap then. As is Cortez, he's just started one. So you've seen these guys now setting up for their laps rather than hammering them in now. But now as we get towards the business end, we're going to see the lap times coming in. And now, wow, I can't wait to see how this is going to unfold. It's going to be a fast flurry. I think the McLaren's going to get us kicked off for the final runs in qualifying. Stay tuned, the action is going to be brilliant for this last minute.
Yeah, so Carmental is just gearing up to start his final lap. Nolan up 2 tenths on his time, puts it in the P3 at 3.549. for the McLaren driver, as I believe that was Nico improving on his time as well,
Yep.
going to 3.713. Maledictus across the line didn't end up improving on his time either. The two Alfa Romeos, TDB onto
Here
the
it
top,
is.
3.372. It was expected. Knuth also improves on his time at a 3.578. No, sorry, he didn't end up improving, sorry. So he's going to go for one more lap, and in fact, he's invalidated on his lap. Must have done it at the final corner because he's not going to be able to get another lap time on the board, as it is way too late now into the session. So he's just going to try and take a couple more laps around there. But yeah, TDB straight onto pole. QBR Paco improves on his time to put it with a 3.614 into P7. Matt Tivos, I believe, is going to be, I think he came across the line, but is not improved on his lap time. Killer Blue does improve on his lap as well, 3.669, and he's, in fact, yeah, he's back up, so he's with his lap times as well. So now, a few more people that are coming around the final corner. Old School does not improve on his time. Carmentalist does not improve on his time. So both of those guys, 15th and 18th position, respectively, at the moment. As there was a McLaren that was in the middle. That was Nolan somehow bending it on a straight. Not too sure how that went about. But Nico improves on his time once again, a 3.599. And a few more guys coming across the line now. Knuth does improve on his time ever so slightly, but in that P5 spot at the moment. So 3.578 for Knuth. Very nicely done from him. I think that was Ariel Coxey or Ariel Ryan coming across the line. Does improve on his time, but does not manage to take off that last place from Old School. Rudy, I'm looking at though. Purple sector 2. Very wide coming out of the second to last corner. And coming out of the final corner, he's unfortunately invalidated that lap time. And that could have been a very, very good lap from him indeed. Anybody else that's coming across the line? I think everyone is pretty much done. Yeah, so TB, I know he put an absolute steaming lap in. To be fair, that still would have put him in 13th on the set of the medium, so it was good he went on the set of the softs, because he is sitting at the front row. Cortez once again also sitting in that second place as well, and Kumblai and Nolan just behind him, and well, our championship leader in 5th, and one of the championship protagonists as well in 8th. So it's going to make this a very, very interesting race, Dan.
And of course, let's not forget the dynamic when it comes to the setups and the wet conditions and who adapts to those at the best. TDB, we know, is a very good driver in the rain, so he should be going very well. Cortez is going to be joining him on the front row. Kumblai, who set his lap time quite early, hangs on to 3rd from Nolan. Another good qualifying from him on the 2nd row. 3rd row is Knuth. And Nico, Knuth, the championship contender, starting from 5th. Matt Tibos and the 2nd place man in the championship, Packer, on the 4th row. And Rudy and that screen round out the top 10. No real dynamic with free choice of tyres, as we are going to have a wet race. As it's Killer Blue, Mark, Peter, Maledictus, Xenoma, Carmentalist, Hardy, Old School, and Coxey rounding out the grid. 7/10s covering the entire grid. Just over a quarter of a second covering the top 10. Absolutely brilliant stuff out there. Very tight, and that is Austria. But it is NSX TDB on that pole position heading into the race. But of course, as we're going to see vastly different conditions, there is no guarantee that order is going to be anything like that come the checkered flag in 36 laps time.
As you said, it's so close with all of those guys, but then obviously where the rain comes into effect, it's going to play, well, it's going to play massively. Look how hard that is raining. That is absolutely chucking it down. So the guys are all going to go on a set of the wet tyres. There's no way that they can go on inters. That's just way too heavy rain for it to go on intermediates. So they're all going to be starting on the wet tyres. And as you said, TDB probably is notorious for being very, very quick in the wet. So I'm quite intrigued to see how TDB is going to fare on in this wet conditions, because he can do, well, as I said, he is very, very good in the wets. So I think TDB could be a very strong contender for this. Obviously how the conditions are towards the end of the race. I haven't been told anything else, just been told that there are absolute thunderstorms. So yeah, I'm quite intrigued to see how the rest of this is going to play out. If it does decide to dry up, then I feel like we might see a different dynamic go into it, but at this present moment I can only really see either TDB or Kumblai trying to take this win tonight.
Well, let's see how things unfold as they get off on the formation lap. This formation lap is going to be very, very important. Of course, there's a usual reason of getting temperature into the tyres, but also just getting dialed in, and you're going to need to, because look at this, the drivers are squirming around, trying to find that limit of grip, that limit of traction. So difficult here. Conditions are going to be a nightmare, even though there's almost no spray being kicked up. That's Codemasters graphics for you, but it is TDB leading it, and he's got that advantage of clear vision. I think it's a lot worse in the car than it looks from outboard, because there is absolutely zero spray being kicked up right now. But everyone, of course, on those wet tyres. It's going to be very tough. And at turn 1, it's already very tight. And turn 3 at the top of the hill, always very, very tight already. But in the wet, that is going to be very difficult. So I hope everyone gets through it all cleanly. But yeah, those guys at the front are going to look to try and use that to their advantage. Good wet specialists here. Some drivers that are tendency to struggle in the wet, so let's see how that goes. But TDB will lead them round. Have that clear on in the turn 1. That's so important. But it's going to be crucial to get through this cleanly, because this is going to be very, very difficult. These guys getting adapted to the wet conditions, putting it out on the line. TDB and Cortez the front row. Who's going to lead this into turn 1?
Well, interestingly enough, TDB and Cortez, they kind of just shot off on the formation lap. Kuhnblei and Nolan kind of just sort of slowed the rest of the pack down. But TDB and Cortez, they're going to have a little bit colder tyres than what they are going to be... they're going to have colder tyres than the rest of the guys behind, because they'll be sitting on the grid a lot longer than the rest of the guys. You can already see they're sitting on the grid now. Kuhnblei is literally just coming up to his grid spot. So, yeah, I mean, they may have a little bit colder tyres, but, I mean, I reckon at the beginning of this race, they're just going to be able to get those warmed up pretty quickly. I think TDB really is... I can't really see anybody else taking the win for tonight. Unless a wall decides to come out straight in front of him, I think he's taking this win. I think Kuhnblei's second, and I'm going to go an outlandish one. I think Matt Tibos is going to finish on the podium.
Well, let's see. Are you going to take the start or not? I'm not sure what's going on, but...
I'm not too sure. There we go. Right, so... for round number 8, we have got the 5 red lights that are on, and it's like, there we go. Of course, a very slow start in this wet conditions. TDB does get a good start, a very good start, and same with Kuhnblei already up into second position. Knuth also jumping up ahead of Nolan into 4th. Nolan going to try and hold it down the inside into turn 1, but is going to have to stay down in that 5th position. Killer Blue, Matt Tibos makes his way up into 6th, just up ahead of Nico. That's screaming Killer Blue down in the order. Both going at it as Nolan and Knuth as well. Both going at it for 4th and 5th. Nolan's going to have the inside in towards turn 3. Knuth's just going to give that one up and let Nolan take that place back. Matt Tibos going to head up and keep ahead of 6, and there's just a little bit of contact with him and Nico, but they are still both side by side coming up towards turn number 4, as well as Rudy and Packer also down for 8th and 9th position, doing a very good job between the pair of them. Hardy and Peter, both the AlphaTauris going at it at the back of the grid, but Matt Tibos looks like he might hold Nico. Nico's going to hold it down that inside through turn number 4, and Matt Tibos is going to have the inside turn 6. So nicely done from Matt Tibos. He will manage to maintain that 6th position, but TDB already getting out almost a 1 second gap, literally from the first lap. And as I said, we know that he is notorious for being very, very good in the wet conditions. Already, well, he's gotten that gap from just Cortez, who started alongside him, 1.4 seconds, 8 tenths up ahead of his fellow Dutchman, as Rudy gets in front of Nico for 7th. In fact, he got shoved out wide, and Packer's gone round. Oh, 2nd place in the championship, going round at the second to last corner. Not used to these wet conditions, having that spin, and now he's at the very back of the grid as Ariel Coxey getting past Peter as well. Fall at P15, and Rudy and Nico both still going at it, as Rudy got on that move done on Nico, and I think it was a little bit of a push and shove between the pair of them, but the Dutchman does take that 7th place.
Oh, absolutely manic start then. Packer, big championship contender going round. He's got so much work to do now to get back to it. You can see them all checking up into that turn 3 hairpin. And what I saw Zerwa nearly go around at the hairpin. He's got Carmentalist alongside him. Carmentalist, a very good wet driver himself, coming around the outside. Looks like he's going to try and snatch that, of course, fighting for points. Zerwa very, very late on the brakes. A bit of contact between them. Some pushing and shoving out there. Carmentalist is forced onto the curb. And Zerwa again squirming the Red Bull, but he holds on to it in a 13th position at the moment, just behind QVR Maledictus. Up at the front, you can see TDB leading this out. Kuhnblei trying to go with him now. TDB, you mentioned, is very good in the wet, but so is Kuhnblei. Then he was very quick in that British Grand Prix in the wet, and he is sticking right with the Alfa Romeo. Further back, looks like Nolan slightly struggling. He recovered that 4th place from Knuth. Knuth down to 5th. Matt Tibos behind in P6. And you can see them all fighting their way through. Still Zoudema and Carmental's going at it. Zoudema getting the better of the McLaren driver in the end. Is Packer now trying to get to them. And Hardy into the pits at the end of 2. Has he maybe gone into contact with someone? Very easy to do in the wet. Maybe a front wing change coming. That's a setback the AlphaTauri man did not need. Yeah,
very unfortunate for Hardy for taking, or for now jumping down to the back end of the grid. Yeah, he's had to get his wing changed. He's sitting in that box a lot longer than what he's expecting. So Hardy at the very back of the grid. He made the pit stop, but I think in the wet conditions, you don't really need to make the pit stop unless it, of course, goes to intermediates towards maybe the middle or the end of the race. But I'm sure these wet tyres can probably do the entire race. But yeah, TDB absolutely blistering it out in front. 0.1 seconds now up ahead of QBR. At the back, that is Peter down in 18th place. It's not a good day at all for both of the AlphaTauris. Peter having that spin at turn number 4, so he's now going to have to try and do it all to catch back up as well. And as in fact, yeah, virtual safety car for that spin from Peter. Did he pick himself up any wing damage from that? In fact, yeah, he's got no front wing at all.
Yeah. He, I don't think he actually damaged his front wing in the initial spin, but when he tried to recover it, I think is when he hit the wall and lost that front wing. So I think that's why you're seeing him going around. That's why the VSC's been called out. It doesn't look like anyone else suffered any major damage. They are just still getting out there, and of course with the field so close, getting the timing right on this restart could be very important. But now both the AlphaTauris now in the pit lane within the opening 3 laps. Nightmare stuff for them, as now we go green, and TDB didn't get away particularly well. Kublai did pull a couple of tenths on him, but still has to remain in that second spot. But Tubos climbing over the curve at that turn 3. It's Rooney squirming around to the Haas, somehow manages to save it. Of course, the race winner on track, and Silverstone jostles on it. Peter has gone for intermediate tyres in the pits. The rain is still storming its way down, chucking it down, but we'll see how that unfolds again. Carmencelis and Zernema going at it. Carmencelis deep on the inside of 4. Zernema onto the curb, tough to find traction, and they make contact. Zernema has to get out of it, and Carmencelis at last to that 13th place. These guys going at it now. Coxley from last on the grid now to 15th, squirming around. These guys having to fight it. Like I said in Silverstone, these guys really earn their money in the wet, but we have to keep an eye right at the back on Peter. At the moment, just looking at the gaps to his teammate, looks like at the moment this intermediate is not quite the tire to be on, Jack.
Yeah, they definitely aren't. You can still see it is very, very heavy rain. I'm watching on board with Ariel Marks, sitting in 10th position at the moment, just up ahead of Killer Blue. It's all over the back of the German of that screen, but yeah, Carmentalist is basically saying anything you can do, I can do it better, and just go straight down the inside of Zalma, getting that move done on the Red Bull driver. But it looks as if he might be coming back at him, though, because I think Carmentalist must have made some sort of mistake. Carmentalist moving over to the right hand side of the track. Zalma's going to have to try and go the long way around. In fact, no. Carmentalist goes back towards the outside. Zardama's going to go down the inside and towards turn number 3. It's a good battle between these pair. Zardama back up in front, but Carmentalist is going to have that outside line. Try and get a better traction. Zardama gets a little bit squirmy out on the exit, and there goes Carmentalist straight back into P13. Zardama's just going to have to try and follow and might end up going towards into turn 4, maybe trying to go for that move he did before. Touches the back of Carmentalist, but does not lose any front wing from the looks of things. Carmentalist having a little bit of a squirm coming out of turn 4, but very good battling between the pair of them. The only problem for them now, though, they have lost that time to the back of Maledictus, to the back of Killer Blue. As TDB!
TDB coming out of turn 8, then must have dropped it on traction. Safety car deployed. The race leader is out. Unbelievable. NSX TDB in full control of the race. Must have dropped it on traction. It's a corner that is a formality in the drive, but in the wet, so dangerous in these conditions. And NSX TDB, who we said he's such a good wet driver, and he was proving it for these first 4.5 laps, but out of the race, and that is the race leader out. Safety car now deployed. What drama here. Gutting for TDB. That's the second race in a row that he's crashed from a podium position. But he's now out of the race, and that changes everything. Safety car deployed. They all line up. Wow, that is dramatic. Kublai now to the lead. What on earth has happened? And TDB just drops it on his own, and if he drops it with clear visibility in front, then what is going to happen with all these guys squabbling around? It is nightmarish conditions out there.
It definitely is nightmarish conditions, and I'm hoping we're not going to see another report for the wall with TDB, because I don't think that's the wall's fault this time either. But TDB, yeah, unfortunately out of the session now, and Peter will inherit that 18th position on those intermediate tyres. I don't know if it is the case that he is still going to be, well, I don't know how those inters are playing out. He's about 18 seconds behind Hardy, so I don't really know if those inters are going to be worth it. And yeah, Peter straight back into the pits, going to chuck on a fresh set of the wet tyres, and I'm quite surprised we didn't see anybody else coming for a fresh set of wets, to be honest with you. Yeah. I would have thought a lot of them would have come in to try and go for, well, as I said, the fresh set of wets, because they'll definitely be able to go from the end from there. But yeah, I suppose really it's about position, because like you said, he's stuck behind everybody with all of that spray going on. So yeah, Kuhnblein is just going to inherit the race lead from TDB crashing out. Cortez will go second, and Nolan back up into third position now. Knuth into fourth, and Matt Tibos in fifth. Rudy and Nico have been having a pretty good scrap down there for 6th and 7th, but yeah, that safety car's brought them back closer together. And same with Cortez, because I think that gap between the pair of them jumped them up. I think it was about 2.5 seconds was the gap between them already since the start, and we're only on lap number 7. So our first retiree was the man that was and was leading throughout the entirety of the race so far.
Yeah, that is shocking, absolutely shocking. Is that, well, Carmenzo said Zanima, and Zanima and Coxey must have come together, because they've now both got penalties from that, so they must have made contact. I was commenting on how Zanima and Carmenzo were still fighting and swapping possessions under a safety car, but Coxey must have come together with a Red Bull, and now these guys both have 10-second penalties. Wow. That is harsh. I'm not exactly sure what has happened and what's going on there. Is Rudy and Nico now swapping places, and Rudy's trying to let the Spaniard through. Eventually Nico does go through in a very bizarre twist there. I think that I could have sworn that Rudy was in front before. They now get back going again. But yeah, we've had Zanima Coxey now come together. Now Zanima's backing up and allowing Coxey to go through, even though he was in front earlier. Same thing that happened. I swear Rudy was in front of Nico. Now Coxey's trying to let Zanima back through. This is bizarre out there on track here. Coxey now, he's taking that wider line. He wants the Red Bull to go past him. And Rudy and Nico still swapping. What on earth is going on, Jack? These guys, seemingly, no idea whether to be in front or behind.
Well, I think I've got your answer. Coxey's got no front wing. I think he must have spun under the safety car, because he's got no front wing at all. He's trying to come into the pits, and I think that was the reason why he was going wide. Zadima's also come into the pits, I'm assuming, to fix his front wing. But yeah, Nick and Rudy, I don't know what's going on, why they're swapping positions constantly. I really don't know what is going on between the pair of them. But yeah, I mean, it's, well, I don't know. I really don't know. Nico and, well, I think it looks like they sorted this stuff out, because it doesn't look as if they're trying to overtake each other again. So I think it is sorted out. But yeah, Coxey and Zadama, they were down in what, 13th and 14th, both battling. Now they're going to be towards the back end of the grid. They'll still be up ahead of Peter. But yeah, Zadama, in fact, he's come out ahead of Coxey, interestingly enough. So I wonder if Zadama really just came in just to get a fresh set of wets, and Coxey, and to serve his penalty, and Coxey just coming in to get his wing change, serve his penalty as well. But they haven't been able to serve it under the safety car, because it's still the same safety car. So they're not going to be able to serve it as of yet. They're going to need to do it once the safety car has come in, or if there is another safety car that comes out. But I believe we should be getting underway, because it's been about 3 laps since it's been running. And yeah, safety car is in this lap, just as I say it.
Yeah, and also to comment on the Zanima and Coxey situation, I think that they actually did serve a 5-second penalty, but they were given 10-second penalties. Now it's been cut down to 5, so I'm not exactly sure what on earth has happened. I think they must have been given two separate penalties, and now they've just served the first of them. So that's very bizarre, but we'll have to look towards the front here as Kuhnblein now leading it along with Shazoo Cortez behind him. When is Kuhnblein going to go then? The safety car now to the pit lane. He's free to go at any moment. Now he goes early towards turn 9. He's got a decent enough jump on the field. Nolan was absolutely left in third position. Now he's going to have Knuth all over the rear end of him, but now over the line is Kuhnblein leading the way from Cortez. Massive oversteer for the second place man. He holds on to it though. It's Mark and that screen that seem to be the closest on track. 210 separating them, 210 separating Matt Tibos and Rudy further up the road as well as they headed into turn 1 for the first time. Matt Tibos looks to be struggling. Maybe he's not got the tyres switched on. Rudy in the Haas trying to get up to him. Mark trying to hassle that screen as they climb up towards turn 3. We'll see if there's any manoeuvres coming through now. Matt Tibos holding on the slipstream, not quite as powerful in the wet. Mark now on the inside of that screen, bit of contact between Aston Martin and Ferrari. Grazing side pods on the inside though it is. The Aston Martin just in front. That screen trying to fight back. They're coming level up towards turn 4 then. That screen just edging in front. Can he get it done on the brakes? They break at about the same point, then deep goes the Ferrari. Round the outside of the Aston Martin. They're still going at it. This is brilliant stuff as they head into turn 5 and now to 6. Inside that screen, he's going to understeer wide as the Ferrari into the Aston Martin is forced out wide. They make contact again, somehow not spinning in that screen. Gets the place, parks it on the apex of turn 7, and again getting a bit out of shape on the exit, but he does get through. Brilliant battling between those two. And Matt Tubal still under pressure. Peter now, the first corner cutting penalty of the race. As now we look at this, wow, look at this. Mark hounding that Scream, can't get through at the moment though, but the gap's beginning to open up through the field, and at the front Kublai, just like TDB did, he's more than a second air after one lap then, crushing pace so far for the Williams man.
Yeah, again, Kublai, you said it as well, like if it wasn't for TDB, Kublai may have ended up getting in second in the race, but he has absolutely stormed it away from Cortez as well at this restart. Nolan just almost at the same distance between himself as well. Knuth though doing a very good job of just keeping on the back of the Brit as Mark finally gets past that Scream. In fact, they are both still side by side, so this battle is far from over between the pair of them. They are costing themselves so much time, but Ariel Mark, the Maltese driver, is going to try and go down the inside of that Scream, but that Scream's not going to leave him that space, and that Scream's just going to take that position. Might have been a little bit too aggressive from Ariel Mark because he was at full car length behind. But I think that Scream was just expecting him just to go behind and just sit behind him and just hit the corner as normal. So that Scream now maintains that P8 position. And not only has Mark now got to look in front, he's also got to look behind because Killer Blue is all over the back of Ariel Mark now for this 9th position. But yeah, I mean, up front, look at that Nolan, 2 seconds now behind Cortez. So Kunblai and Cortez doing a very good job up in front. But Nolan's just dropping back, extremely dropping back as Knuth now all over the back of the McLaren driver and is going to try and look for this final podium position. So here we go, coming up towards turn number 3. Nolan gets a little bit of a better exit coming out of turn 1, but I don't think Knuth is going to be close enough to getting anything done. It's just on that exit of turn 3 is whoever's going to get the better exit out of the two. So we'll keep an eye out on that one, as I think this is one of the closer battles on the track between these two guys, as well as Cortez managing to pull himself back into that 1 second of Kunblai. So I wonder if Cortez is going to maybe try and go for that challenge for this race win for tonight. But yeah, even further down the field, Das Scream, Mark and Killer Blue all very close. And not only that, it's now brought Carmentalist, it's brought Maledictus, Old School, and Packer, and Zadawa, and Coxey, and Hardy all together with all of that battling going on. So we've basically got a trail, we've got 2 different trains going on. We've got the battle with 3rd for Nolan, Knuth, Tibos and Rudy, and Nico, and then we've got the battle for 8th with that Scream, and then pretty much the rest of the field, and then Peter's just about 1.5 seconds behind him. But of course with no DRS, it's not exactly a DRS train. It's because of how much it's raining, as Maledictus dropping down the field, and I think the Portuguese driver must have had an off because he's dropped down 3 different Old School, Packer and Zaldemar all getting past Maledictus. So I wonder what happened with Maledictus just there. But yeah, the Portuguese driver unfortunately dropping down. 3rd position, still battling there. Is Knuth going to be able to get past Nolan?
Well, I was having a bit of difficulty reading. I think the mics are playing up a little bit, but as it stands right now, yeah, as you mentioned, there are these 2 separate battles going on. Killer Blue under bit pressure from Carmentalist has made his way through quite nicely in the race so far. Big oversteer for the McLaren though, can't quite get the power down and having to wait behind Mercedes for a little bit longer. Of course, in these torrential conditions, we're not going to see any DRS, so overtaking becomes just that much tougher. And of course, following in the wake of the drivers in front in the spray makes it that much more difficult to follow, so overtaking is something else to try and pull off. But we've seen the likes of Carmentalist do it earlier in the race. That Scream seems to have been able to find a little bit of pace, and he's holding Mark at arm's length, but still Nolan is slipping back from the front too, and Cortez is really going with Kublai, and he is matching him all the way through then, and these two running together then. Watch the fastest laps here. Cortez 1/10 of a second quicker than the race leaders. I think Hardy's made a bit of an error. He's dropped behind his teammate Peter, and these guys are trying to stay with the train as well, just in front as they come over the line now. 12 laps down in the Austria Grand Prix, and still in 3rd spot, Ariel Nolan trying to fend off the championship leader TDG Knuth as they head up towards turn 3, but not near enough to the braking zone. You have to be right there with the car in front if you want any chance, without it, of course, going for a big dive bomb. But none of these guys want to be risking that at this stage in the race and this stage in the season, of course. But they all filter through. No real on-track action right now in terms of the overtaking, but Cortez going with Kumbla. I'm impressed with Cortez following in the wake of the race leader. He looked like he got dropped at the start, but he's right back in it, and now he's putting heavy pressure on the race leading Williams.
And I'll tell you what, Nolan's doing a very good job as well in that 3rd position, just making sure he keeps the rest of the grid behind him. He's like literally, he's kept everybody else just at bay 3.9 seconds behind the top two, so he's of course dropped back from them. But well, as I said, I'm very impressed the fact that he's managed to keep that P3 from our championship leader of Knuth. 3 tenths now behind is the German from the McLaren driver, and I wonder if we're going to see maybe Knuth try and go for some sort of move, because he's a bit closer now than what he has been, as Cortez does set the fastest lap of the race. It's looking like the rain is starting to cool down, as Nolan getting a little bit squirmy going in towards turn 1. Knuth, I think, was caught out unexpectedly by that, and somehow that's managed to benefit Nolan massively, because he's managed to drop Knuth down to about 6 tenths behind him. But yeah, I think Nolan really he's just making sure he keeps the rest of the field at bay. He, as I said, he could be on for a podium for tonight, because he's doing a very good job so far.
Yeah, and all you need to do is be quick out of the critical corners, because there's no DRS. You just need to be quick out of the critical corners, which at this track are turns 1 and 3. If you can manage that, then you're not really going to come under too much pressure. So that's the part of the track where you need to be quick. And even though Nolan probably doesn't quite have the outright pace of the guys sitting behind him, he is quick in those areas of the track, as Peter has gone round again at turn 4, manages to gather back the car, I think without damage. Just have a quick check of the AlphaTauri. I think he is just about fine, but that has cost him a good amount, and he is now detached, you have to say, from the front of the field. Kublai just gaining a few tenths on Cortez. Cortez still keeping him very honest though at the front. And Nolan now rallying. Knuth seems to have had a bit of a rough lap here after that knock in his rhythm he must have had at turn 1. Trying to get back to it, but Nolan's got a bit of a buffer. No one that close to overtaking, apart from Packer, who is sat right in the rear wing of Old School through turn 1. Does he have the grip to try and get towards the Red Bull man? But again, squirming around, it is now both the AlphaTauris in the pits. Peter has elected to call it a day at that, so he is out of the race. Packer looking to the inside, and Mark hasn't even caught out. He runs a little bit deep on the brakes, but he will hold on to it. As Hardy going for the intermediates again. We've seen that with Peter early on in the race, so now Hardy going for that. But is it going to work? Because I'll be honest, Jack, I don't think the conditions have evolved at all in this race.
No, I don't think it is either. It looks as if it's still rain, so I'm quite surprised that we are seeing Hardy coming in for a set of the intermediate tyres. I suppose it is worth the risk, but at the same time, it's not going to get together. So yeah, I'm not going to get any sort of reward in regards to it. So I don't know how this is going to play out for the rest of the guys, because I mean, Cortez and Kublai, I think the conditions are improving slightly, as yeah, look, the rain stopped coming down as hard as it was before, but I still don't think it's ready for the intermediates. In fact, Carmentalist in 11th position has come into the pits, so I'm quite intrigued to see if it really is coming towards the inters, because yeah, he's coming in for a fresh set of intermediate tyres. So I wonder if it is starting to come over to the crossover point. 26.7 seconds separates Hardy and Coxey, and it's, well, in fact Coxey has also come into the pits as well, so I think we are going to start to see a few more guys maybe make their way into the pits either this lap or on the next lap, because yeah, look, the rain, it's started to ease down quite a bit. Of course, it is definitely going to intermediate conditions. Just how quickly is it though? The Jeff's obviously going to get on the radio, but it's how quick they're going to be able to do it.
Well, I was on board with Hardy, and it looked pretty grippy, but it's still a bit sketchy, we'll say that. It is definitely improving. I think you're right, the rain is starting to ease off now. So now you're seeing those conditions evolve. Carmentalist now the leading inter-runner. Have to keep a close eye on the McLaren man, who was sitting in that mid-pack. I don't think there's really much to separate the tyres at the moment. I'm watching Carmentalist. He's pulled back about a tenth through turn 4. It's not conclusive, but it may be worth a risk if you're in that trade, particularly near the back if you want to make some ground. It's not much in it at all. Killer Blue diving into the box. So is QVR Packer, so is XL Zone, with 3 very experienced drivers diving to the pit lane. I don't think there's really much to separate the tyres, Jack, so I think now, this or the next lap, if they continue to evolve, could be the right moment. I don't think the likes of Hardy, I think they may have came in a bit too early, but I think we are getting towards that crossover point and the optimal pit lap, so you've got to be careful not to get caught out. I think we'll see a very busy pit lane on these next 2 laps.
I think we will, because Carmentalist, he's coming around turn number 1, and he was behind all of these guys. He's now gone up ahead of Maledictus, he's gone up ahead of Packer, and he's now only just behind Killer Blue, and in fact has the run on Killer Blue coming up towards turn number 3. So let's have a look. The Carmentalist, is he going to go for that move on the Brit in the Mercedes? No, he's not. He's just going to sit behind him for now, but I think it is that crossover point of of the intermediates to the wet tyres. So I think the intermediates are definitely one. And I think you're right. I think we're going to start to see, a very busy pit lane coming in this lap. So let's have a look. Cortez and Kunblai, they don't actually pit, as Knuth and Nolan were both just going side by side, but Nolan is in, Tibos is in, Knuth stays out, Rudy stays out, Nico stays out, that's Scream out, Mark is in, Old School is out, and so is Dharma. So it's, they're all on different, it's basically split in the middle of the field. So I wonder where the rest of the intermediate runners are going to come out in relation to Killer Blue and Carmentis, because they pit on it. You can already see Matt Tibos and Nolan coming out of the pits, so I think it was one lap too early for all of those guys. But at the same time, I feel like Carmentis may have played that a little bit better than what the rest of the other intermediate runners did. However, Nolan, now on the inters, is he going to get the jump on Cortez and Kunblai and Knuth? Because you remember, he was battling with Knuth very, very closely. It's just, I think it's at that crossover point now.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Mark was a good way ahead of these guys. I think, to be honest, lap 17 lap 16 to 17 might have been the optimal. I think we may be past it already. I'm watching Nolan. He is chewing away the advantage of Zoudma in front. They need to pit now. And now, the leaders have split strategies. Kunblai did get a bit further ahead up the road, but now he stays out. Cortez is in. Look at these guys, that upper midfield pack coming in. Knuth, Rudy, Nico stays out, interestingly enough, but he has a bit of a buffer to play with. That Scream, Old School, Zoudma stays out. So those guys, not very many staying out. Now where are they all going to filter out in this situation here? Now where's Nolan going to be to the likes of Knuth? This is going to be very, very interesting here as they try and emerge from that pit lane. Knuth has got going, then Rudy right behind him. Where is Ariel Nolan? There he is. There's not going to be much in it. Maybe Knuth has timed this just right. He's got in front of the moment then. Can Nolan get to him? Has Knuth stolen a march in the battle for P3? The McLaren is coming at him. Up towards turn 3. Can he get to the inside line? He's going to sit in behind, going to remain patient and running around the outside, trying to get himself back underneath. Knuth doing a stellar job on that in lap to maintain and get in front of the McLaren, and now Knuth has the opportunity to get himself further up the road. You'd see them all filtering through inner trades. Some of them, it seemed to be just the adaptability to the conditions. We saw some drivers like Carmentis, as you mentioned, get out a little bit better than others. But now as Kunblai comes in, we'll see if the gap at the front has changed at all. Kunblai, Nico, I suspect Zoudma will be in as well. That's the end of the wet period, and now into the second half of the race. We're going to see the intermediate tyres coming out. I would say that, but Zoudma still braving it out there. He's going for it, but Kunblai and Nico, and where are they going to come out in the thick of things?
Yes, so Zoudma's going to be at a bit of no man's land. I think he's not doing the right thing and not pitting. I'm quite surprised he is staying out.
Look how close the leaders are.
Cortez, both so close together, but just remain behind. So, yeah, I mean, I think Cortez, unfortunately for him, it's worked out, but not to the point of what he was hoping for. And even further behind, Knuth, now 6 seconds behind those top 2 guys. In fact, sorry, it's even further. It's 8 top 2. So those top 2, I think, unfortunately for them, it's just not working out in their favour. And for the top 2, it's working very beautifully, but for the rest of the guys, it's not worked out in their favour, and it certainly hasn't worked out in Zoudma's favour at all. He's now going to have those intermediate runners come at him unless he pits, which I'll be surprised if he doesn't. I will be very, very surprised if Zoudma does not pit in this lap.
He is looking towards the pit lane, but I wouldn't say that he's taking a pit lane approach line. No, he's staying out. Again, maybe he's thinking, yes, the intermediates may be quicker now, not by a huge margin, it must be said, but they are definitely quicker at this stage. Does Zoudma think that he can make up for the extra pit stop that these guys have taken, if the conditions hold up well enough for the wets, that he can just brave it out there and hang on to that 3rd place? Let's see, as further back down the field then, Nolan continuing to come under pressure, more so now on these intermediates. He has got Rudy handing him now, the Haas driver trying to get up to the McLaren, but I don't think he's going to be near enough on the brakes. You don't want to go for anything too over ambitious in these conditions, still very treacherous, but Nolan is struggling to get that power down. As I say that, Rudy, big oversteer, holds on to it though, but now these guys are beginning to struggle So Knuth now getting further up the road as we go. A car around that scream down at the hairpin. He was very close in that midfield fight, so he might have come together with someone, not sure. But the Ferrari is now round, and that's a lot of points going a begging for the Ferrari driver. Better disappointment for him. He seems to be detached. Most of them now, the gaps have started to open up at the moment as we got another yellow. That's scream out altogether now. Out at turn 4. Must have hit the ball, and the safety car is deployed. So how's this going to work out? The leaders were just past the pit lane. Harney's put it in the wall again, I just saw. This is Zaunima. Oh, he's just past the pit lane. He would have had a perfect opportunity to pit there, but I think he was just a bit too far forward. A few seconds earlier, and Zaunima would have been the main beneficiary of that safety car.
I think he still will be, because everyone's going to be under a delta until they hit the line, so until Kumblai and Cortez hit the line. So Zaunima can still at least play his part in trying to keep up with that delta and then come into the pits at the end of the lap so he can go on the inters. The only problem for him is that if that safety car didn't come out previously, this would have worked out beautifully for him. But because that safety car came out and bunched up the field, he's not only going to drop down, well, he's now going to drop down probably behind Maledictus and maybe behind Coxey, but I think it's mainly going to be behind, in fact he might even be behind his teammate, because Old School I can see is like in that battle with Maledictus, Paco and Carmentalis, so I think he's going to drop back behind all of those guys, and it's not gone very well for Zaunima tonight, unfortunately for him. Even though he's sitting in third at the moment, he's going to make that pit stop. There's no way he's going to be staying out. There is absolutely no way. I'm keeping an eye out on this one, but yeah. We've now got another safety car from that scream having that crash. Yet Zaunima is pulling off to the right hand side of the track to make his way into the pits. So Zaunima now coming in, going to go on a set of the intermediate tyres. There is the Dutchman going to come out in relation to everybody else. You can see they're all going to be staying out on these intermediate tyres. They can go to the end of this race. Of course, only got another 15 laps to go of this race. And Kumblai has been doing a superb job of leading it since. But Cortez has not been keeping it easy for him.
Certainly not, and of course that dynamic can all shift around on the intermediate tyres, as you mentioned. It seems like because as these guys come over the line, their delta is dropped, so they can go just flat out now. Zaunima looks like he's going to come out just in front of Cox. He will have a slight tyre advantage over the rest of the guys, so we'll see if that is going to benefit him. Doesn't make as much of a difference in the wet, but we will see. So your order: Kumblai, Cortez, Knuth, Nolan, Rudy, Tebos, Nico, Mark, Blue, Carmentalis, Packer and Maledictus round out the point scorers at the moment. Then it's Old School, Zaunima, Cox and Hardy, the 16 drivers left in the race at the moment. Then as we continue on, we're coming up now. We're going to have when we do get back on the way, we're going to have about 11 laps to go in the Austrian Grand Prix when we do get underway. So it will be Kumblai leading it, and will be Cortez in that second spot. So we'll see how these guys are going to get things going then. The Williams head of the Alpine, they've battled all race long, but now they've got Knuth behind him, and interestingly enough, Knuth not bottlenecked this time by the McLaren of Nolan. We'll see what he can do. Can he stick with that top two and these closing laps on these intermediates? He has that bit more free rein. Can he keep up with the two men that have been the class of the field so far tonight?
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, yeah, Knuth, he's just been sort of keeping there or thereabouts, and obviously where he was behind Nolan the entire time, he's now gotten past him. So the interesting thing for Knuth now is that he's back within a second of those guys. He was about 8 seconds after that safety car restart being behind Nolan. Now he's within those guys, and now it's going to make this a bit more of an interesting scenario, because it's now not going to be just two people fighting. It's now going to be the rest of the grid. That's all from first to seventh. Ariel Mark has a penalty down in 8th, but I think this is where we're going to see things start to pick up a bit more. Of course, I think the safety car is going to be in at the end of this lap, and yeah, I don't know what's really going to be happening with the rest of these guys, because yeah, I think Kumblai's going to try and go for another restart, so then at least he's got the traction that he needs. But I wonder if Cortez is going to read it this time, and of course when Nolan was caught sleeping last time, I wonder if he's now going to be a bit more aware if someone's going to go quite early. And same with Knuth, because Knuth and Nolan, well, Knuth had to stay behind Nolan after that safety car restart, which completely dropped them out of those top two guys. So They just need to keep aware of the rest of the guys, as Hardy's now just starting to catch back up to the rest of the grid. We might see the safety car go around one more lap, or it might be in at the end of this lap. We're going to see Hardy just catch up to the rest of the grid. Is it going to come in this lap? Let's have a look. And yeah, very, very late on.
Ooh.
So the safety car is coming in this lap. So that's going to hinder Kumblai's restart. As, oh my god, Cortez almost going into the back of Kumblai. I don't think they did touch. So Kumblai's going to try and take this restart. He's going to have to slow right down though because of the safety car coming stupidly late. So Kumblai, in fact, he's already gone before the final corner. And Cortez doesn't look as if he's been hindered by that one. He's all over the back of the Dutchman, and Knuth as well has kept with him. Nolan once again not getting the restart that he needed because he's already dropped back 8 tenths behind the German, and he's going to have Rudy all on his tail as well. But the top three, they're all so close. They're all using the ERS to try and get into that lead of the race, but Kumblai is going to maintain that lead of the race coming into turn 3. Knuth though is now joining in this battle, and then a little bit further behind you've also got Ariel Mark and Carmentalist and Killer Blue both going at it, as Killer Blue getting in front of him. Packer and Maledictus having a bit of a squirm and going off the track. It's allowed Old School to go in front of him now, so the Portuguese driver not having the best of race, and Ariel Mark and Ariel Carmentalist going at it. Killer Blue and Nico also going at it just behind, as well as Killer Blue getting shoved off wide by Nico. So Nico's not going to maintain that 7th position. Carmentalist now going to go around the outside of Killer Blue, and we're also going to have Ariel Mark try and fight this one. A little bit of contact between the pair of the relentless drivers, and that's allowed Mark to go back in front of Carmentalist. And unfortunately for Carmentalist, he looked like he was going to do a double move. It's now turned into him getting overtaken once again by Ariel Mark, and he's going to have to try and get that move done once again. Is the relentless driver. So Carmentalist now down into 10th position, and he's going to have it all to do, as Nico already dropping out of that gap from Matt Tibos. 1.2 seconds now the Spaniard is behind the Mercedes driver up in front, and that's really sort of opened up that gap between them. Once again, we're going to have 2 trains going at it, one with the leader of Kumblai, and then Nico leading off the rest of the grid. But it's all so close in that midfield pack coming from Nico and Matt Tibos, as there's been a spinner. That is Ariel Coxey at the back of the grid. Unfortunately for Ryan, he's now down into 16th position, and that is, well, that's basically his race over and done with, unless there is another safety car, which I'm sure he is hoping. But interestingly enough, the top 2, he's got that 1 second gap up ahead as Old School getting that move done on Packer down in 11th position. But yeah, Kumblai and Cortez, they've both got that 1 second gap from the German. And Knuth, I know we're gaining on this in the championship, but I'm sure he wants to try and find a few more points up in that in those top 3.
Yes, certainly. And sticking with Nolan actually got back towards him for a bit, so Kumblai maybe not quite strong on his enters, and he's slightly more changeable conditions. It's still tough for enters, but we will see. Nico, as you mentioned, got dropped. He had to defend fiercely, first from his teammate, and then from Killer Blue, who managed to pick up the scraps. He's now up into 8th. Sitting right behind the Spaniard. You can see the fastest laps coming in, and now is Knuth. Looks like he's the one that's struggling to live with it. It's the top 2 again, but Cortez looks that little bit more dangerous to the back of Kumblai in this stint. He's just 3 tenths adrift now with the battery being used down the straight. Can he get up towards the Williams driver? That's the closest he's been all race, but he does wait this out a little bit longer, as Hardy now deciding to back out of what has been a nightmare race, a nightmare season, you have to say, in general, for the AlphaTauri man, as they head off back down the straight. Getting towards turn 4, looks like we're not going to see much. As I mentioned, that slipstream, that DRS not coming into play as much in the wet conditions, of course. Back to enters now, but still very, very slippery out there on the track. But at the moment it is Kumblai from Cortez. Knuth trying to stay with him. He's really struggling. It's now Nolan beginning to drop off. It looked like at one point he was coming back towards these guys, but now slipping back a little bit. He's got Rudy right up behind him, so Rudy trying to make an impression. Of course, nearly took the victory in Silverstone, but now as we come through now, 9 laps to go, Kumblai leading it. But I have to say, with Cortez's pace, the Alpine man, unless he makes a major error, is not getting dropped here and is pushing Kumblai all the way to the line.
He is definitely pushing him, and Kumblai, I'm sure, is seeing that. I know he's going to be quite scared as Cortez. Oh, a little bit of a squirm coming out of turn 1 from the Portuguese driver, but still gaining on the back of Kumblai, as Kumblai did not have a very good exit coming out of turn 1 either. So yeah, the Shizou driver is just doing very well, just maintaining behind the QVR driver, and I think Cortez, we might see towards the end of this and towards the end of the race, things are really going to pick up. Cortez though using more of his battery to try and just keep Kumblai at bay and making sure that he knows that he's in those rear view mirrors. Knuth still at that 1 second gap as Nolan dropping back completely from those top 3 guys. So Nolan, I think the best where he's competition now is only in P4. It's still a very good drive from the relentless driver regardless. But unfortunately for Nolan, I think 4th might be the best of what he's going to get for tonight as well. And I believe that'll be his best finish in the season so far. So kudos to him for that one. He's done a very good race so far, I must admit. From starting in 4th and finishing in 4th would be a good result for him. And I'm sure he'll be happy with that one. But I'm sure he'll be a bit more happier if he does manage to get himself on that podium. All it would take is just one of these guys in front of him just to make that one slight mistake. The only problem for him, he's got to look up behind him because Rudy, he started quite further down in the field. He's now up in a 5th and he's only just behind Nolan. In fact, saying that, I think Nolan made a bit of a mistake. Rudy is so much closer to Nolan now coming up towards turn 3. I think he's not going to be able to get the move done in turn 3. Is he going to have the traction coming out of it though to get the move done out on that one? As in fact, yeah, Nolan a little bit squirmish coming out of turn 3, but so was Rudy, and same with Kumblai, as Cortez still cannot find a move on the QVR driver. They've now gapped Knuth 4 attempts from the last lap when I was just having a look. So Knuth, yeah, starting to drop back from these guys. I think 3rd place, I'm sure the German will be happy to settle for that 3rd position. But yeah, those top 2 is where the battle really is happening. And as well, down towards the back end of the field, Packer and Old School both going at it for that P11 and P12 position. One of the championship protagonists down in 12th at that final points position, fighting for that final points position. I don't think Packer's going to be very happy with that performance for tonight. But yeah, as I said, Kumblai doing a superb job on front. He now sets the fastest lap of the race, and it looks like the conditions are just sort of getting a little bit better as it goes on.
Yeah, these drivers are going to have to keep on adapting, keep changing their style, making sure they're keeping up with the change in the conditions so they don't drop off the pace. So let's keep an eye out and see who's going to adapt the better as we head on to the final 7 laps of this Austrian Grand Prix. Nolan under real pressure now from Rudy, but again he's able to find traction off the critical zones and powers away. Look at the gap open up as Rudy finds the car to the exit, able to just about hold on to it then as Cortez still tracking Kumblai, but can't quite keep pace through the high-speed sections of the track where it's much harder to follow in the wet. That's where Kumblai can just open up that gap he needs down the straights, but Rudy is really pushing Nolan here all the way through. But just about holding on to the 4th place as the McLaren man. Rudy behind him, P5, Tebos in 2nd position. Nico's still with them at the moment. Killer Blue has not quite been able to live with this. He's hanging on just about. He's got the RAL drivers, Mark and Carmensless, rounding out the top 10 as they head now onto lap 31. 6 laps to go. Half a second covering our 2 race leaders. They have been the absolute class of the field all the way through tonight. And Kumblai holding off Cortez. A bit of an awkward run through turn 1 for the race leader, but he will, I believe, hold on to that race lead. We cannot look away from the battle for P4 either, as Rudy gets a good run out of turn 1 this time, but again I think he's going to be too far adrift. Cortez has a lot of straight line speed on Kumblai with the slipstream, but can't quite find the move, and neither can Rudy. So difficult to overtake. It's been so difficult all night long. Now Packer is trying to have a go at Old School, but the door is firmly shut by the veteran Red Bull driver, and now out of shape is Packer. Now through goes Maledictus. Packer now down into 14th position, then making the mistake. And for a man that has been on scintillating form in the last 3 races, 2nd in Singapore, and he was on a 2-race winning streak heading into this race, but down into 14th, QVR Packer in the rain. Not a night to remember for him. And Knuth, even though not winning this race, he is on at the moment to rapidly and fiercely extend that championship lead. Then he's going to really stretch out once again in this tight race if he holds on to that P3.
Yeah, I think Knuth is just going to extend that quite a margin, because he said now out of the points, he's down in 14th position. He's need to try and get 2 more positions at least, but I think Packer might have to settle for 14th. In fact, he's coming to the pits. Hopefully it's not to retire from the session, but maybe try and go for the fastest lap on those intermediate tyres. The only problem for him though is in fact he has retired from the section, so Packer, unfortunately, he didn't up any points for tonight, and that's going to allow Knuth, he's on an extra 15 points, so jump 16 points up ahead of Packer, but it also means that Kumblai will catch up to his QVR teammate and might even, I think, actually go up ahead of him in points or be tied with him on points if it does finish the way it is. Both Kunblai and Cortez are the fastest out on the track at the moment, and in fact fastest lap does go to Shizu Cortez, but the gap in their fastest laps is 2,000 between Kunblai and Cortez. It's 2,000. So Kunblai and Cortez, they are in an absolute world of their own at the moment, and 4 more laps left to go as soon as they cross the line. This is still anyone's race between those top two. It is really between those top two as they go. See, they both keep on changing their fastest laps. Cortez takes it straight back off of Kunblai. The conditions definitely are improving, so it's just whoever's going to be the faster one on that final lap will take that fastest lap point. But it's going to take that race victory because Cortez now closer and closer to the back of Kunblai. And in fact, Cortez looks like he got a much better exit coming out there. But saying that though, just going on board with the Portuguese driver, he had a little bit of a squirm coming out of turn 3. So Kunblai still under pressure, but I think got a little bit relieved from that turn 3 as Old School and Maledictus both were going at it. As in fact, I think Old School had a little bit of a squirm as well coming out of turn 3, and now he's battling with his teammate for that final points position. So I think the two Red Bull drivers both going at it for that final points, and I don't think they'll be very happy with their performance tonight either, especially considering that they both got podium twice at least this season. So I'm sure they'll be trying to maybe look to bounce back next week Hungary. But yeah, Nico as well, the QBR driver, he's not raced the last 2 races, he's in 7th position at the moment, all over the back of Matt Tibbles. He's managed to catch up to that gap as Kunblai now sets the fastest lap of the race, 111.8 to the Dutchman's name. So yeah, he's now the one sitting with the fastest lap of the race. 3 more laps left to go, Dan. Again, those top 2, they are battling it out like crazy.
Yeah, but for some reason, I can't see Cortez finding a way past. He's used more ERS to try and keep up. He's lower on that battery, and he just can't quite find a way through. He needs to rely on a mistake from Kunblai. These guys are so evenly matched on pace that it seems as though neither of them can overtake the other. So it's all about trying to keep that track position, and Kunblai has been able to do that. Remember, he got past Cortez at turn 1. That was critical for this race. Starting on the clean side of the grid may well have helped him very, very much, but he does lead just over 2 laps to go. I think Cortez has to bank on a mistake. Of course, these guys are still pushing for fastest laps. We'll see who gets it. Only 12,000 separating them now as they continue to knock the times down. Canute about half a second adrift. He is the next fastest on that fast lap count as they come now over the line. It is Kunblai from Cortez as they hit the line yet again. No fastest laps this time, but half a second between them. 2 laps to go. Can he get through? As Ariel Mark going to the pit lane very late. Does he have he has a corner cutting penalties, but I don't think he has a 5-second penalty. It's Maledictus says the fastest lap of the race. So the fastest lap may not yet come from a race leaders, but Ariel Mark into the pit lane for fresh tyres. Now that tells me something. If he's coming in at the end, there's no other reason for him to do it otherwise from those tyres starting to go off, and he does not want to risk a puncture. I didn't think we'd be seeing that as Nico and Killer Blue are going at it at a turn 3. Nico with his nose in front, Killer Blue drawing alongside, trying to get through on last against the Aston Martin driver. He's got the inside line. Nico derating as they hit the brakes now, trying to get around the outside of turn 4. He's going to get squeezed out there, I think, by Killer Blue, who manages to get through up into that 7th place. But Killer Blue now through into 7th, but on that pit stop from Mark, he was in the points. There's no reason for him to pit except for the tyres dropping off. Could we see punctures on this last lap? Could we see more yet drama as we head to the final tour of the Red Bull Ring to round off the Austrian Grand Prix? Kunblai from Cortez, 4:10 separating them. Can the Alpine driver get away through? 1 lap to go. Who's going to come out on top here in Austria?
Well, as you're saying, I think it might end up being Kunblai. They're all going to have to use their ERS now, and in fact Cortez, once again, a better exit coming out of turn 1. He's using as much of his ERS as possible to the point where he is now derating. But Kunblai, he has saved up that ERS and he's going to play this perfectly. As long as he doesn't make a mistake, I think this might be the Dutch driver's win tonight. Cortez, though, absolute valiant effort from himself. Unfortunately, it's just not played in his favour, and I think he's going to have to stay behind the Dutchman at the moment. Those top 2 were in a class of their own tonight. One beginning. Was leading at the beginning, sorry, but yeah, unfortunately for him, it's now just, well, he's now out of the race with the first retirement of the season.
Oh, Cortez!
Massive bit of oversteer, I'm sure that was absolute code brown for the Portuguese driver, but manages to hold that one. Oh my goodness, but coming around the penultimate corner for the final time is Kumbly, and around the final corner, the QVR driver is now back on top. Kumbly will come home and take round number 8 around the Red Bull Ring. Congratulations to him for taking the win tonight. Cortez will take second, and Knuth rounding out the final part of the podium. Nolan does come home to finish in 4th, his highest finish so far this season. Rudy in 5th, Matt Tibos in 6th, Killer Blue in 7th, Car Mentalist in 8th, Maledictus in 9th, Nico with penalty to his name ended up dropping down to 10th position. So the Spaniard with that penalty has completely hindered his finishing position, as Ariel Mark takes the fastest lap of the race in the end as well. Old School and Zadamar, I think, were the only two that managed to get themselves into the points as well. So good job to the pair of them. As driver of the day in game is for Ariel Car Mentalist, and I'm not going to lie, I might actually end up saying it's got to go to either Kumbly or Cortez in my opinion, but I think it's probably the one that ended up finishing on the top. QVR Kumbly, what a drive that was from him, and in fact, yeah, you know what, I will happily say he is my driver of the day.
Yeah, I know it's a bit boring to go for the winner, but he was put under immense pressure all the way through from Cortez. Now, overtaking was very difficult today, but, you know, you cannot crack. You simply cannot crack through 36 laps in the rain, and he did such a good job with that. Controlled the restarts as well. Second one was a bit shaky, but he held on to the lead, and he does end up winning the day. Cortez second and Knuth third. I think Knuth will be very pleased with that, though. A big step towards the championship at the moment, with Packer way down the order. Kumbly will move up, I think, just about level on points with his teammate. But we run through Nolan. Great defensive drive from him. Holds on to 4th from Rudy in 5th. He moved up the order quite nicely. Tibos and Killer Blue, the two Mercedes, good points fall from him in 6th and 7th. Car Mentalist, good recovery from him as well. Moves up to 8th. From Maledictus and Nico rounding at the top 10. And the Red Bulls of Old School and Zedema rounding out the points. Last finishers, Coxie and Mark, who did just steal the fastest lap right at the end. Packer, Hardy, Das Scream, Peter and TDB not making the checkered flag. Well, that was not the most exciting race, but certainly very, very intriguing all the way through. And you have to say, this track, so difficult in the rain. There are corners that are simply formalities in the dry, that in the wet, you are really stretched to your limit. So the drivers have earned their money today, it must be said. But yes, great win today from Kumbly, and you have to say that after a slightly poor run of form in the last few races, he is right back in the championship hunt.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Kumbly has done very well for tonight. As I said, the last 2 races just have not gone his way. So for him to come back in now to finish in top spot, I'm sure he's going to be very, very happy with that. I can also only apologise. I think there's been a few issues throughout the stream through tonight, so I can only apologise in regards to that. Hopefully I can get that sorted out for next week as well. But I believe we have got some podium do here, Dan, and I believe we are going to be getting those top 3 guys in.
Yep.
And I will let you actually take it away, because as I said, I'm having a few issues for tonight. So yeah, I mean, as I said, it wasn't exactly the what's the word for it? It wasn't the most enthralling race, but at the same time, it was more about strategy, and it just looked as if Kumbly was the one that played it a lot smarter than Cortez. Cortez, though, I've got to say, what an absolute state that was on the final lap. And yeah, Knuth, as I said, starting on 5th, ended up in 3rd, just got past Nolan when he needed to from that pit stop phase, and it just helped him out massively. And yeah, kudos to Knuth for picking out the right lap for him to get that jump done on Nolan.
Oh yeah, certainly pulled off that overcut very well, and he had to, because overtaking was so difficult. The overtaking definitely nullified without the DRS at this track. There's no doubt about that. The drivers found it very, very difficult to get through. We will begin to ask them about it. I'll just get Knuth in, just the invites, and then we'll start with yourself, Kumbly. So yeah, we'll just get this sorted out very quickly. But yeah, very excited to see it. Of course, I'm very glad to be back after a few weeks out.
Yeah.
celebrating a few things. But as we, yeah, okay, so we should be just about good to go. So starting with you, I'm gonna do the interviews tonight because Jack's mic's been playing up just a little bit, but
All right, all right.
no worries. So I'm coming to you, mate. What can I say? We knew you were good in the wet, but how tense was that race? Because the man that came through at the second place, Cortez, he pushed you all the way. How were the nerves for those 36 laps?
Yeah, it was very sweaty because he was constantly half a second behind me, and I was just constantly telling myself every lap to concentrate. And especially turn one, he was better than me. So, but yeah, I'm so happy to be back on the with the win after those two last races.
Yeah, it's your second victory of the season, and of course, that's going to push you right into that championship hunt. It must be said. So you've been pushed yourself. I think you might be. I think you might be. I think level with your teammate on points and second in the standings. So good going. How do you see your hopes and dreams heading through the remaining rounds as we approach the midway point of the season?
Well, I can't really say. I just need to perform in the races and uh, yeah, yeah, that. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I want to go for the championship, but
Yeah, of course.
I'm
And Jack, do you want to ask a question? Is your mic good for at least one?
I think I should be okay. Yeah, I mean, just through that race for tonight as well. You had it was you versus Cortez for pretty much all of it until from after TDB had that crash. That must have been so intense for you to try and hold on because it looked like at times Cortez was gonna get you, and then at times it just looked like you would just sort of pull away. That thought process through that. I mean, talk us through that because that looked very intense to try and stay up ahead of the Portuguese driver.
yeah, and it was very intense. One of the most intense races I've had. Every time I went with the fastest lap, he was like a tenth quicker, and then sometimes he came really close, and then yeah, and then as you said, he got away again. Then the next lap, and it was just really tense all race.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to have won it in the end. And GG to Cortez also.
Of course.
Yeah, certainly. But I don't think we can get Cortez in there. I think he's. Did he say he has dinner? I think quite.
I don't know. I think he left. Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to. He needs to go for dinner. I'm gutted about that. I was going to ask him about the last lap save that he did, but.
Me? Oh, he. He almost
yeah.
spun.
Yeah, he nearly saw me. Just about held on to it. But yeah. Congrats though, man. Look
Thanks.
to see you in the future rounds. And we'll come to our championship leader, who makes things a bit more comfortable at the front of the race, Mr. Knuth, where we see you very often in this interview room. But just talk us through that race, and mainly your battle with Ariel Nolan, because it looked like you were quicker the entire race, but you had to resort to the strategy rather than on-track passing to get the better of him.
Yeah, it was really painful because, as I said, it's impossible to pass basically. You have to make it either over strategy or if the guy ahead of you makes a mistake. So I was basically just hoping for that, and I just didn't get the exits that I was hoping for. And I was also really struggling with my braking points because I had absolutely no practice in the wet. So it was pretty much just guessing in every corner. I got a bit into the rhythm towards the end of the race. But yeah, at the start it was relatively difficult. And then with the strategy, it was really difficult to tell when the right point for Inters was, because it was like 3 to 4 laps where you could basically drive both.
Yeah.
And I just thought, yeah, I might as well stay out because I felt like I had a little bit more pace than Nolan ahead of me. And well, it paid out. It was pretty close, but it paid off. And then it was just cruising towards the end because I knew Cohen and Cortez were way too fast ahead of me. They were in a league of their own today. So I was pretty much just trying to not spin and not get my third warning because I was on 2 warnings in the last 8 laps or so.
Yeah, but you managed to just about hold on to it. Looking ahead, your championship lead is extended a little bit, but there's still both the Williams guys are right on you. Looking forward to the next couple rounds then. What do you see? How do you rate your chances? I know you've been playing down your expectations throughout the season, but the results just keep on coming. But next race in Hungary and a few other rounds after that, how do you see that playing out?
Hungary, I can't really say much to Hungary. So far, I haven't done it too much, but I'm obviously gonna practice now in the next few days. And yeah, after that, it's Portimao. So basically, that's already 0 points for me. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm basically just trying to get a few points here and there. I'm probably not gonna win anything except if something crazy happens, like in USA. But yeah.
We'll see how that unfolds. And I'm going to come to you, Jack. Do you have any questions for our third place finisher tonight?
Well, what I was just going to say was, yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think you pretty much answered everything that I was going to ask anyway. But, I mean, yeah, now that you've got, like, it was 1 point between yourself and Packer, and I think Kumblai's now also even with yourself, with Packer. So I think that's, what, a 16-point gap in the lead now. And you were saying, you know, you might not see you try and finish on the top step at Hungary, but I mean, you know, there's been times where at the back of the grid you've sort of started at towards middle to the back of the grid, and it's just sort of worked out for you. I think a few people call you the alt strat hoe for some reason. Yeah, I mean, you've done a very solid job tonight. You kind of just proved that wrong for the rest of the guys. Are you going to maybe try and go for ones inside the top 10 regularly now and try and push that, like try and push the win for that? Or are you still going to try and sort of start outside the top 10 and try and maybe work your way through the pack? Because either way, it just seems to work out for you.
Yeah, I mean, the next few rounds, from what I can tell, are pretty important in terms of strategy. And obviously, safety cars are, they basically decide races. So I just have to get lucky in most situations. And I think the main reason why I'm so far up at the moment is that I'm relatively good at keeping out of trouble and not get involved into any big crashes. So yeah, that's basically what I'm gonna try to do in the next few races. And yeah, maybe if I get a good lap, and maybe I can start in the top 3 for once. But I'm not gonna bet on it.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
But yeah, I think that's just about it for all about our drivers. As in, unfortunately, we couldn't get Cortez in, but thanks to you guys for showing up, and congratulations on the drives tonight. I know how difficult it could be, Austria in the wet, but yeah, congrats guys, and I guess I'll hand it back over to you, Jack, to round out the stream.
Yeah, so to everyone that has tonight, thank you very much for watching. As I said, I do apologise the fact of the time what has been going on, but hopefully we can get that sorted out for next week. As I said, we've got Division 1, Division 3 and Division 4 next week as always at 6:30 p.m. British Standard Time, Division 2, Division 5 at 8:10 British Standard Time, and the final round of the PC side next week as well at Friday 8 p.m. So make sure you guys do tune in for that one. But yeah, thank you to everybody for tuning in for tonight. And we will catch you guys next week for round number 9 around the Hungaroring.